I'm Pastor George Borghardt, and this is another Higher Things video short. How do you talk to a suicidal friend, especially one who says he can't trust God? Let's start with the question of trusting God first. When it comes to God, when it comes to the hidden God, the God that is behind the veil, the God of nature, the God who destroys one town and then seems to leave the other one unscathed, the God who seems to inflict young people with diseases and sickness and suffering without relenting or giving up any sort of mercy, the God who hits us with hurricanes and destroys towns, that God. Well, I'm not sure that anyone all by themselves can trust that God. The God that is hidden and veiled, I have a hard time not hating him, says Dr. Luther. So the revealed God, though, God has revealed himself in the person of Jesus, the God who takes on our flesh, Christmas, who we've learned in the Epiphany season is true God and true man, begotten of the Father from all eternity and born of the Virgin Mary, the one who heals the sick and raises the dead, and the one in the Lenten season coming up is going to take upon our suffering and take upon our death and take upon even hell itself, our abandonment. That God in the person of Jesus is easy to trust. The only thing to ask of that concerning that God is, did Jesus die? And did the same Jesus who died on Good Friday rise again? And if he did, then everything he said is true. And you can put your trust in him and you can bet your life on him, because he will not fail you. He who went through death and hell isn't going to let you down. Now, suicide, which is the second part of the question, is a very serious thing. It's not to be taken lightly. It's not given for us as friends for our friends to determine whether or not they are in need of attention or whether or not they have a real problem which requires medical attention. And so my suggestion would be, first things first is that you confide in your parents about what's going on with your friend. There's nothing that says you can't talk to your parents. And thoroughly, and your pastor, thoroughly try to convince your friend and pray for your friend to confide in their parents and their pastors and their counselors. Because suicide is a very scary thing. It's life and death. And when it comes theologically speaking, it's a sin which is idolatry. We are not to control when our life begins and when our life ends. And we're not to take our own life. And the devil can so deceive us that we don't make decisions which are sensible. And we don't behave in a way that's rational. Because the devil has convinced us that some way which is an end is better. But it really isn't. And so pray for your friend and encourage them. Point them to Jesus. And Lent is a great time to do that. Point them to Jesus. But all the more, as you point them to Jesus, encourage them to seek real help. Encourage them to talk to their parents, their pastor, and get any support they can. Because this is not something that you have to tackle alone with your friend. It's something that requires professional help. I'm Pastor George Borghardt, and this has been another Higher Things video short.